This morning, the list of recent aviation crashes is growing. In the last month, there's been 5 crashes across U.S. skies. The most recent crash took place just yesterday afternoon, where 2 people were killed when 2 small planes collided northwest of Tucson, Arizona. Because of the many crashes so far this year, it's causing some travelers to start having some flight anxiety.
Our mental health expert joins us live now to explain what flight anxiety is and how you can overcome it. Dr. Ziegler, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So what's going on in the minds of travelers or potential travelers right now?
Yeah, we're seeing online these, sort of unofficial polls, but people saying that flight anxiety is at a peak. So flight anxiety, pretty self-explanatory, just the fear of being on an airplane and either getting hurt, injured, dying, crashing. And I think prior to recently, it felt like, yes, we acknowledge it as an anxiety, but it's so, such a small percentage. You didn't hear about these things. And with all of these incidents happening, people are really reevaluating, do I really want to travel? Spring break is coming up. Do I really want to do this? Should we just drive or not even fly at all?
Right. It is so interesting because I have never had a fear of flying. I think there's a lot of people that are in that boat. Some people do have aerophobia or whatever, fear of flying. But what if someone is all of a sudden having a little bit of anxiety, especially if they're going to travel with their kids for spring break? What can they do to overcome that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, still, no matter what, they will say statistically it's still a safe means of traveling. There are a lot of safety precautions. That's hard to tell people when you see these kinds of images week after week. But I think one of the things it really is to first and foremost weigh out the pros and cons. Is there another way of traveling? Because if we're talking about kids and you're traveling with kids, they feed off of your anxiety and they're looking to you. And so that's one piece. If you do decide I'm going to travel and you're going to do that with kids, you really want to have a plan. You want to get to the airport nice and early so you're not rushing, so you don't already have that stress.
Yeah.
One of the things we look at when people are either just seeing these things and they're worried about it, or maybe they were in an accident and they have survived it, is that they have this sense that they feel guilty for surviving it. And they have this sense of around luck, and you start to get superstitions and all those kind of things. So it's really important to stay very grounded around, okay, we are safe. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to be late. And we're going to listen to the flight attendants. That's the other thing. So I have a friend, Jason, who's a pilot, and he said, one of the most dangerous things is really just not wearing your seatbelt.
Yeah.
When we tell you the seatbelt sign is on, put on the seatbelt. That's actually more dangerous than anything. He reassured me, said these planes, as we saw in the Toronto incident, they are made to withstand a lot, not just turbulence, but a lot of things. So there has to be that reassuringness. You have to put some time and effort. If you just show up at the airport knowing you have anxiety, I've heard people saying to me, sometimes people think I prescribe medicine, I don't. They'll say, I need medicine, I need medicine. So you have to plan ahead, I think, if you feel that anxiety, but you're still going to travel.
Yeah.
So we know what's happening and we know how to respond to it, but let's talk about the why. Why are people having different reactions to what's going on right now?
Yes, one of the biggest things is when you come into any situation, your past history will indicate how you're going to respond to it. So if somebody has absolutely never had any issue, even just bad turbulence can be traumatic for people. If they don't have that and they see these things, and maybe they even haven't had a lot of trauma or stress in their lives, they are more likely to be resilient to it, to say, wow, this is unfortunate, but I'm not worried. But if you have a background where you've had these kinds of traumas or scary incidences, or again, just a high level of stress, you're more likely to feel vulnerable. And flying is particularly anxiety provoking because we have no control. Right. The only thing we can control is wearing that seatbelt and being on the plane. So it's that control that's really central to this, that lack of there isn't anything that I can do except for just sit here.
Let's say someone goes to the airport and they've never had fear before, but they get to the airport and they're starting to feel a little bit anxious, right? They're getting nervous. Is there something that they can do while they're waiting to board the plane?
Yes. We know that deep breathing really is important. When people hear this, they might say, oh yes, no, really, that sense of mindfulness. So you can do this in an airport because everyone's busy and nobody's paying attention.
Right.
You could just be doing it right there. Close your eyes, take 4, 7, 8 breaths. That means in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. And we call it diaphragmatic breathing, which means you're really moving your diaphragm. So don't breathe up into your chest. That's very shallow, but into your deep belly. It's very calming to the central nervous system, right? And then you do focus on what you can control. We tend to, when we're in fear, right? And when, again, we're stressed, we are looking for fear. we tend to focus on the things that are making us nervous. Focus on what you can control. Focus on the outcome. Think positive thoughts, because you're getting on that plane anyway. So you can get on in fear, or you can get on in trust. And sometimes people will say to me, I felt better when I just said hello to the pilot.
Yeah.
Or I talked to the flight attendants, and so that's important. But I think also just know there's something called, there's collective trauma, there's collective anxiety. So when you're in the airport, you might think I'm fine, and you get in there and all of a sudden you don't feel fine. It's because other people's energies really do affect us. So just be cognizant that on that airplane, there might be more than usual higher levels of anxiety.
Totally fair.
4, 7, 8.
4, 7, 8. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8.
Okay.
And you can do that anywhere.
Anywhere I could do it right now.
Like you said, no one's paying attention. Everybody is so into what they're getting from the fast food court or what book they're reading. No one knows. So just do what you have to do. Take care of yourself.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
especially in the airport, it's the best people watching everywhere. People do weird things in the airport, so deep breathing is like.
And it moves fast. And if
Nothing.
you're deep breathing, I might be like, yeah, I should do that too, right?
Yeah.
That can be contagious too.
Yes.
Positivity is contagious too.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Ziegler, thank you. And it is important to note that these types of crashes are extremely rare. Our Courtney Yoon dug into the statistics of plane crashes and how it continues to be one of the safest modes of transportation, like you were mentioning. We have that story on our website at 9news.com and streaming on 9 News Plus. Let's get a check that forecast with Chris.
Yeah, such good information there. Really appreciate you, Dr. Ziegler, and for bringing in that information. I know there's a lot of fear. I'm a little scared of flying myself, but again, just worth noting how safe it really is to travel, even in mind of what we've seen over the last few weeks.